round of 16, and whoever loses this match will be eliminated from the tournament.
And it looks like we're going to get started here pretty quickly. And to our Dark Knight Cecil, we are adding a Palom, so not a terrible start, and a Pan.
So Palom definitely strong pretty much all stages of the game. Once he gets a few levels, he'll pick up a few spells and be able to get through the initial fights pretty quickly. Really just the first fight that can be a little bit tricky with this party. After that, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Yep, he learns those level 2 spells super early.
And now we get to see what our objectives are. I see Antlion Nest, the King of the Town of Monsters, Super Cannon check, so Tower Key is required. Pick up Porum, so the launching the Falcon, so completing the hook route, whether or not it goes up, is required.
Okay, well, Antlion Nest is at least an early one. That's available by default and contains one of the easiest boss spots in the randomizer.
So right off the bat, we see a slight divergence. Flurry heading to the Watery Pass. This is looting check popular on these bracket flags with the T-Pro setting. The chests here are weighted a bit higher than some of the other overworld spots, such as the Barren Town checks, which bgrich is doing, which we often saw more frequently on the previous flags.
Yep, both of these locations having a relatively high density of chests, so you're hoping you at least get one good thing for early game bosses.
Extra looting in the back of the Watery Pass. Likewise, these chests are also a little bit higher value in general, just with the weighting of the randomization.
And bgrich also doing a standard Damsian Castle loot. The secret treasure room here has quite a few treasure chests altogether.
Yeah, another high density check. Another ninja sword in there. I think I saw one in Watery Pass as well for Flurry. So pretty good if we find an edge. Ninja sword, one of his best weapons. Also in this Damsian Castle, runners will unlock the hovercraft, knowing that they have to eventually launch the Falcon. They know they need to unlock the hovercraft at some point.
Yep, and also a black robe in Damsian Castle. That's going to be excellent for our starting game Palom here.
Yeah, the black robe unfortunately does not actually boost the black mage's damage, possibly a glitch in how the game was but it does still give some good defense for a good pickup with it.
Yep, so bgrich also unmooring the hovercraft, since we know we have to launch the Falcon, so we do know we will have to use the hovercraft at some point. Now heading over to Hobbs, there's a boss slot and a character check here. One nice thing is we don't have to hunt down any bosses today. It is only certain spots, not certain enemies.
So Flurry opting for Antlion first. Hobbs first. Either one of these makes sense in either scenario. We do see a new character on Hobbs. It is Yang. And they'll have to defeat the boss there to actually pick him up. For Rubicante or Elements, we'll see in just a second.
It is Elements.
So bluffing with Palom, we may see an attempt to avoid skipping to the next form of the elements. As long as you do enough damage in one hit or reflect spells, you can act elements before they transition through all the phases. So if Palom can hit a really high damage Ice 1, we may be able to defeat this with 2 teams. Yep, and with that bluff doing just enough damage to elements of Fluery14 form, saving a bit of time, not having to go through all 4.
Yep, Yang is a little underpowered early game, but having access to those elemental claws can be very useful on bosses with elemental weaknesses, and he can be quite a powerhouse at the end of the game since his attack power scales based on his levels. And in the Antlion Cave, we have a Mist Dragon. We have a 2-for-1 deal going on at the bottom of the Antlion Cave.
So, almost a vanilla fight, fighting that Speed Mist early on in a cave with Dark Knight Cecil. The one good thing about Dark Knight Cecil is that darkness damage, in which is weak to dark damage. So Cecil does a little bit more damage than normal, although still not a whole lot. Unfortunately, not enough damage to take the Mist Dragon down on the first round, so gonna have to wait through this Mist phase. Of course, you can't attack during this form or do any damage.
Yep, and bgrich also heading down to the bottom of the Antlion Cave, and will also be facing the Mist Dragon pretty shortly.
And Fluery taking down the Mist Dragon on the second round right away. We'll see what he gets in a second here. And Dragoon Helmet, not the best pickup, although that's a pretty good defensive item for Cecil once he becomes a Paladin. It does protect against fire, ice, and lightning elements, which is most of the elemental spells in the game. Also worth noting, of course, that was the first objective completed. Take care of that pretty quickly, but good to have that out of the way.
Yep, for sure. Gambit in chat also noting that we picked up a black armor in the Antlion Cave, which is going to help out Cecil just the tiniest bit before he gets turned into a paladin. And visiting Rydia's mother.
Just a silent staff reward. Again, not the best item. It is a pretty good staff for white mages, so might hold on to that, especially knowing that they'll eventually at some point who could make use of that. Could even see Cecil using that in some niche scenarios that does do bonus damage against mages.
So Fluery now gonna head over to Kaipo, probably check the item shop there, and also see which character is currently lying in bed with the desert fever.
Oh, and that is a Fusoya, so definitely hoping to find that San Ruby and pick Fusoya up. Of course, Fusoya being one of the most powerful characters, especially early on, starting at a very high level and picking up those spells just from completing boss fights.
Yep, his only real weakness is he does not have much MP.
And meanwhile, bgrich took out the Mist Dragon with the extra Yang and the extra experience from completing Mount Hobbs, giving Palom level. bgrich was actually able to take out that Mist Dragon in the first form before the initial transition to Mist, so saving a little bit of time up there by having some extra experience.
So far, runners just trading checks with each other as bgrich heads out of the Antlion Cave. Fluery is going to go pick up his Yang.
And kind of the point of what he just said about the Antlion being easier for bgrich, this fight should be easier for Fluery. I believe he'll have Fire 2, or at least Ice 2, which means he can take out the elements without having to do any bluff strats necessarily.
And bgrich deciding he no longer wants a Dark Knight and would instead very much like a Paladin, so heading up Mount Ordeals. There are 3 bosses up here.
And I'm not sure if bgrich actually checked the Mist Dragon, which could have hurt him if that's actually the case, although in this case, just a side deal.
And let's see what our first boss on top of the mountain is.
So I think going to ordeals before Fabul makes a decent amount of sense here. You want to get that Cecil earlier. You will lose out a little bit of experience from not doing Fabul just yet, but I think we'll be okay with the Pelham having the initial level 2 spells. Evil Wall, you're not too dangerous. Physical is spot, which is all the Evil Wall really does.
Yep, and I believe Palom has those level 2 spells, which will help a lot with the DPS and taking down this wall before it gets anywhere close to bgrich.
About, I think, 2,800-ish HP on this spot, so a few rounds of those Fire 2s and some extra attacks should get through this Evil Wall. Running out of MP, though. Let's see if we have any Ethers. Actually, taking a reset rather than spending any of those items, so just going to 10th MP. So a little bit of time loss for bgrich having to restart that fight. We'll see if he can make that up.
Yep, probably just trying to save the tent animation by not healing before the boss, but yeah, Palom just didn't have the MP. Meanwhile, Flurry's in Fabul, and we get Yang versus Yang.
Yeah, so this actually makes the Ordeal's first play a little bit better, even for bgrich, because having the Paladin Cecil, you can just take care of the karate fight just with the standard vanilla script of attacking after the second kick with that Paladin Cecil. In this case, Flurry has to actually kill this karate by doing enough damage.
But that didn't take Flurry too long.
Yeah, not a whole lot of HP on that spot, and again, Palom pretty strong at this point with those level 2 spells.
Yeah, those level 2 spells shred through these early game bosses pretty well. And a hook! So, what do you think, chat? Are we gonna get a hook seed? There's still a couple places a magma key could be.
So we may see Flurry go ahead and check that hook spot just to see if he can pick up a new character, depending on how he feels about his party at this particular moment. Will also be interesting if Fabul is the only underground access, because at least bgrich is to find the way underground before doing Fabul in order to do all those checks with the pan all at once and avoid multiple dips. But if the hook is the only way, then he'll have to do that before going underground.
Yep, you always love to have the pan right before you go underground. And King and Queen Emblet, this is a free fight. They will burn themselves out if you just let them cast fire for long enough. Or if you think it's going to be faster, you can try to just take them out by doing damage.
Which bgrich seems to think is the way to go. Ahead and attacking the king. So about 1500 HP there that you have to get through, and then the queen will disappear as well once the king goes away. Flurry doing some extra shopping, probably then going to head up ordeals. to get that Paladin Cecil, or we may see a hook check. Looks like he is going to grab that hovercraft, so probably going to just check on the character, and unless it's something super easy, he probably will come back for the other checks first.
Yep, you also get the Eblin shop down there, and since it's a gated shop, it can have slightly better wares.
Fluery dropping a save outside of the cave and just looting the initial chest probably won't. There's one trapped chest, which contains 2 Steelmens as a monster encounter. Fluery probably does not actually want to fight those, so just saving and going to reset if he actually had found that fight.
Ooh, and cabins are always nice.
Vampires as well. Those are an attack item you can use, do 600 to 700 damage in most cases, so pretty good early game.
And the Light of Mount Ordeals has blessed us with a crystal sword. What a great present. That can immediately go on our Paladin Cecil, and that is going to carry us through the game.
And Dark Knight as the boss, this is very much the Cecil ordeals. Now with that crystal sword, Cecil can basically single-handedly take care of the rest of the game. So might be a pretty fast, even if we have to do the hook route.
Yep, you know you're going to get a Porum, and a White Mage and a Crystal Sword Cecil are really all you need to win the game.
So Fluery just finding a duplicate Palom in the Eblin Cave. So unfortunately that doesn't help him out, so he'll probably just exit out. I didn't quite catch what the boss is.
I did not either. I was distracted by a very shiny crystal sword. Gambit said, who is our trekker tonight, said it was a lunar sparkle.
So one of those moon bosses, probably not too interested in rushing that just yet. And certainly will be much happier about approaching that once you pick up the crystal sword on Mount Ordeals. Fluery doing a little bit more of these save strats for looting. So saving in the inner save spot, and then checking some chests, finds the monster encounter, immediately resets, and then can safely loot the remaining chests.
Yep, Evelyn Cave just has so many treasure chests. But it does have the surprise of one trapped chest with relatively difficult enemies at this point of the game. And because we're playing on T Pro and S Pro, those hourglasses are a little bit harder to find.
And bgrich remembering to come back to the Mist Village to pick up just a silent staff. Not too big a deal, so he feels fine that he didn't check that earlier, definitely with that crystal sword now in tow.
Yep, and it does look like it's going to be a hook seed, which sometimes can be annoying, but in this seed we have to launch the Falcon anyway, so we have to go through the upper part of Babel anyway, so it's not going to be too bad of a deal.
I believe we do still have that Baron Inn check, which could have something to...
You are correct. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, even those... To get a few levels on that Cecil, it shouldn't be too hard with that crystal sword in that hook route.
No, you love to see that crystal sword, especially when you start the game with the Cecil. Second to only the adamant armor is the most powerful equipment in this game, and currently we have adamant armors turned off, so there are no adamant armors.
bgrich doing some shop checks. I saw he did pick up some charm arrows in the Mist weapon shop. That may be preparing for possible Mad Ogres if the hook route happens, or might be thinking about doing a Big Mac grind in the Giant to get Cecil set up, or get some of the other characters to higher levels if the Darkness Crystal pops up.
So our runners here just retreading each other's grounds.
Fluery coming up ordeals might end up being a little bit behind because he put this fight off, or this location off, knowing that this look value with that crystal sword. Still anyone's game. Certainly a lot of game left to get through quickly. bgrich still putting off that Fabul check, so probably hoping for a magma key to run down to the underground and check sylphs.
Nope, not the castle. I've made that move before.
And then we see Tella as the character here, with an Ogopogo as the first boss. Not going to be too much trouble, though the wave will take out half his party's HP. The good thing about that Tella, well, one of the good things, the main one, Cecil, is that he will have access to the Berserk spell. So put that on Cecil and he'll tear through pretty much any boss at this point.
Yep. And Magus Sisters.
So this second Baronin spot, these aren't too dangerous. The magic power is pretty low, and they even go ahead and cast a spell on their own sister initially, because the agilities get a little wonky in some cases where they don't quite line up their turns properly.
Yeah, I love when the agility mess up there. It's always pretty amusing. But between Pelham's magic and Cecil's crystal sword, this shouldn't be any problem at all. And I guess Yang can punch every once in a while.
Yeah, I guess Yang's there. He won't be doing a whole lot for most of the seed, I imagine.
Cecil and Pelham and Yang.
Right, and the Luca key reward. So this is...
So I believe Wyvern, correct me if I'm wrong, Wyvern can't block underground access. And we saw Ogopogo, so that Lunar Sparkle either has to be D-Lunars or Plague.
D-Lunar's Plague or Paledem.
Yes, there's 5. I can count, I swear. And then again, you have absolutely no clue who's in the King and Queen Eblin spot.
bgrich equipping real quick on the Cecil. So that is setting up what we call the back row glitch, using a long-range weapon, just putting it on once actually makes your character count as a long-range attacker for the rest of the game, so no longer has that back row penalty, even with a normally short-range item like that crystal sword. Fluery now complete his crystal sword. Might be feeling a little bit behind that he didn't pick that up earlier, although at this point, probably not too much as there's that he's gone through just yet. bgrich now coming back to Fabul with that crystal sword and Cecil. He can just wait for the second kick and take out the karate by the script, or he can probably just attack once or twice and with the crystal sword's power just take out the karate before that even happens.
Yep, I'm expecting the latter.
Meanwhile, Flurry taking care of his last overworld check, and that will pick up his Tela as well. For bgrich, even Tela gets in on the action with a virus taking out the karate fighter.
You love to see it. Well, at this point, all bgrich has left is the hook route. So that is most likely what we're going to see next.
And Flurry's actually right there with him, now finishing up Baronin once he gets through these Mega Sisters. I think both runners have done most of their shopping. Depending on that, the runners will enter Upland Cave at pretty close times.
Yep, this has been a pretty close race so far. Ooh, a Thunderclaw for Yang. That might actually make him useful.
Yeah, so that's one of the more potent claws just because there are a number of bosses in weak to Thunder.
Yes, disproportionately so.
However, with that Crystal Sword Cecil, it's probably not super important to have that. So with this extra shopping in Fabul, Flurry is actually out of Baron a little bit before bgrich makes it out. Oh, Flurry doing some more shopping as well. So neck and neck in their shopping trips. Looks like Fleur has a little more shopping to do, stopping in Mysidia, so bgrich, well, also doing some more shopping in Agert. Flurry notably did also do some looting and shopping in Evelyn Cave already, so even if bgrich gets there first, Flurry may be slightly ahead.
And while we're shopping around, I will just mention that this is the first of 3 round of 32 races that are going on this evening. The other one is starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Time over at the Free Enterprise channel. And there's also a 9 o'clock race over on the Free Enterprise channel. So check those out for more Free Enterprise action.
So Flurry did actually win that shopping race back in Evelyn Cave. Ready to run up, might not even the Mad Ogre chest for extra experience at this point, depending on how he feels. So, dropping a save here makes me think he probably will stop for that to get some more experience on Cecil. bgrich getting blocked by the true final boss. And Troya blocking that exit for several seconds.
So who is your personal least favorite NPC?
It's gotta be that one or Luca. Luca will run up the stairs. Or is it the Dwarf Castle? They like blocking the stairs there.
Yes, Luca is definitely mine. She seems to really linger in that staircase. And Flurry going for the Mad Ogre chest here. This is a very good experience at this point in the game.
So these guys do hit kind of hard. Flurry's going to try using the size spell with Tella, which has a viable status on them and will reduce both their physical attacks as well as their physical defense. And so makes the fight pretty safe and pretty quick.
And using Cecil's cover ability to make sure Tella survives long enough to cast the size spell.
You'll also see Flurry try to use the life glitch, tossing life potions on the Mad Ogres as they die. That revives them with 0 HP, which means they immediately die again and give you double the experience.
Yes, Woo Bear, the Light of Mount Ordeals gave us a crystal sword and a paladin. It was super convenient.
bgrich now coming into Eblin Cave as well. Looks at that armor shop, sees some good mage gear, and really wants it, but does not have the money right now. The flags on these brackets are really not generous as far as money goes. All items sell for half the price they normally would compared to the Swiss flags.
Yep, our runners will definitely have to budget wisely.
Flurry taking down those Mad Ogres, picking up another 10 levels on that Cecil. And Ninja's Shirt Reward. That, of course, is the name of Flurry and my 2v2 team, Team Ninja Shirt, because that item is basically useless, so we pretty much always sell that as soon as we see it.
Yep, only usable by Edge, and even then, not terribly useful.
Does give pretty good defense, but defense usually not what you want on Edge, so usually you prefer even the starting black belt that Edge comes with.
Yes, I did give wrong times. I even double checked. Gosh darn it. Time zones are the worst.
So one thing to note, because bgrich did Fabul after Ordeals, he does have a little more experience on that Cecil, which may end up coming into play, although I think with the Mad Ogres, Flurry should be fine at level 19 Cecil.
Yep, didn't heal before though. This is the Rubicante fight, but it is not the Rubicante spot. Probably not gonna have trouble though. Meanwhile, bgrich also taking on the Mad Ogre chess. We will see if they go with a similar strategy or something new.
And Flurry actually avoiding X for now. Rubicon will counter with Fire 2s, and with Yang and Talon as low as they are, they'll go down to those counter Fire 2s. So favoring spells with Tella and Talon for now. Because Rubicon pretty much only does fairly slowly timed single target attacks. It's not too much danger as long as he keeps lifing up people as they go down.
And down goes Rubicante.
So Fluery gonna go ahead and drop another save. Not knowing exactly which boss that is, definitely makes a lot of sense to save just to be sure.
Yep, you do get a free healed here though, so no need to use a tent.
Yeah, probably won't have too much trouble in this fight. Again, with that Quake, with that Crystal Sword. But saving moon bosses can get a little scary. And it is Plague, so probably just going to Berserk up Cecil. If needed, he can kill off some of his characters and then revive them. Every time you do that, it will reset the count, because Plague tries to refresh the count on the newly revived character. The only danger here is if that count runs out on your whole party. bgrich4's side, he did take out those Mad Ogres as well, and gonna finish off looting the tower. I think Fluery actually decided that looting and skip the remaining chests.
Fluery just slugging his way through this Plague fight, picking up characters to keep that count resetting.
I'm interested to see if Fluery decides to keep any characters dead to not get experience here. This is the point where you want to start worrying about potentially one character low level for agility anchoring. Keeping your middle character low agility can end up having net benefits because it effectively makes your other characters fast.
Yep, and Tella's agility actually increases faster than you would think.
So probably a few more hits will do it for Fluery here, so may just leave Tella dead at this point. There he goes, Fluery finishing off the fight just as bgrich starts the Rubicon fight at the parent spot.
Some debate going on in chat of what the count spell sounds like.
I'm pretty close to Rivered on that one. I hear it as bloop 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 bloop.
I actually agree with Shala Kitty. I always heard it as an evil laugh, like a ha.
So Fluery on the way down the tower does step over to the right, check on that boss in the Dr. Luge spot. It is the dolls. The Calbrina fight. Not too difficult of a fight, so could potentially head there early. Although we know we need to complete that tower key quest as one objective, so may wait for that to show up.
Yep, so Fluery completing objective number 5 and launching the Falcon.
We'll most likely see a dip into Sylph Cave right away to check on that pan. Essentially 3 additional checks, 1 for hitting Yang with the pan, and then 2 when you visit Sheila. And we may see a pretty early check on Dwarf Castle as well, still looking for that Porm as one of our objectives, so I want to get those character checks done.
So Flurry just a little bit ahead right now.
Yeah, BG Rich heading into that plague spot, going ahead and Berserk. They shouldn't have too much trouble in this fight either. Crystal Sword Cecil, pretty strong. And also going to take out Tella and refresh that count just like Flurry did.
And Flurry getting a pink tail from the tiny green fairies. That's adamants are turned off, so if turned into the tail collector, that will yield a top tier item.
At this point, I almost think you skip it, already having that Crystal Sword Cecil.
Yeah, unless you need to turn in the rat tail later anyway.
Yeah, Crystal Sword's really the big thing I hope for out of that spot usually.
And we'll see what the good housewife Sheila has for us today.
Ooh, a pass and a sand ruby, so pretty good pickups there. Pass means a quicker path to Zeromus, and that sand ruby was a Fusoya pickup, so they can complete the party and also get a pretty strong mage.
I agree with Rivers. This seed is being super nice so far. We got a Fu, we got a Palem that already knows Quake, we got a Crystal Sword Cecil. Our objectives aren't too all over the place. The big wild card right now is where's the tower key and where's Porum?
And BG Rich getting that last hit on Plague, so just a minute or two behind Flurry getting underground. Flurry heading back underground. Does still have the summon town checks, but I'm guessing with first. And yeah, it looks like he's landing there. Looking for that Porum, as you just said.
Yep. And of course, that Porum could be, I know the runners would hate to see it, but the audience would love to see it, could be in the Giant of Babel.
Fusoya not quite full power, but already has nuke, so pretty much as strong as you need him at this point. Might actually compete with Crystal Sword Cecil in terms of damage output.
What a nice and gentle seed. So kind.
Flurry doing some shop checks first, probably looking for a cursed ring to make his life easier in terms of agility and manipulation. And illusions in the item shop, pretty good pickup. They apply the blink status to the caster, which allows them to dodge 2 physical attacks, which can be very handy in some of the tougher boss spots where the physicals come out fast and hard.
Yep, and we still haven't seen a lot of those physical bosses. We haven't seen Antlion, we haven't seen Pale Dim.
We do see another lunar boss in the Baron Castle. For this one, Wyvern is on the table, which could be a little tricky, although I think with this party it'll be okay. But just a Pale Dim, so nuke will be enough for this.
Meanwhile, BG Rich heading down to the land of the summon monsters, so pretty soon we will get to see who is in the Leviathan spot, which is one of our required objectives.
Be interesting to see if BG Rich tries to take out that spot at this point or puts it off to later. not having that Fu yet might end up hurting him if he tries to do that a little bit earlier than Fluery does.
And speaking of Fluery, getting through that Pale Dim with no problem at all.
Duplicate Yang joins the party. Well, tries to join the party to no effect in this dwarf castle, and Bobolus as the boss. Not gonna be too much trouble here. I think magic will even work at this point, but only 3,000 or so HP anyway, so Cecil could take care of it.
And let's see who our king is. Kanazo. Oh, a blue turtle. That is not gonna be free for sure.
Yeah, that is one of the boss fights you least like to see there. Lots of HP means those waves, which scale off of Kegnazo's own HP, will do a whole lot of damage.
And also bgrich finding that cursed ring.
Yeah, so that will help out on various spots. Again, helping with that agility manipulation. Getting a low agility middle character or anchor makes your other characters act faster, which especially helps with a berserking Cecil.
The NPC being rude to bgrich. And a darkness crystal on Fluery's side. So we have our access to Zerome. Well, we had to pass. But the darkness crystal opens up a lot of things. It opens up the entire moon. It opens up the Tower of Babel, which could have a Porum in it. Giant of Babel, which could have a Porum in it. It also opens up some easy grinds with the D-Machine grind. And we have a Tella and a Fusoya, so that would be an excellent grind option now.
So in general, in these brackets on the harder flags, we have seen a lot of grinding in the Giant. Although with this party, with the Crystal Sword Cecil and the Fusoya, you really need it. So probably won't see that, although we'll see what the runners decide.
bgrich actually gonna go check up on that pink tail.
Bahamut summon as the reward. We have not seen any Rydias. I believe there is still one more character in this seed who we haven't seen yet, so possible that ends up being useful.
I don't think so, because we know we have a Porum. Nope, never mind. I can't count. Today I cannot count, and I cannot do time zones, so I'm just gonna stop it with the numbers.
Yeah, I was trying to count in my head, but it's hard to count when you don't have them in front of you to look at. Just trying to imagine and remember which ones have showed up.
No, we have Cecil. We have 7. I counted 7, and Porum is 6. So yes, we do have a 7. I apologize for my terrible math. Fluery also checking the shop and finding the cursed ring. And I wouldn't be surprised with the Fu if Fluery actually attempts this fight.
Yeah, he's almost definitely hoping to take that out now, I would think. Although once he sees it, Kegnazo, he might second guess himself, that being one of the hardest bosses in that particular spot. That's really possible for any boss in the game.
Yeah, a small amount of grinding would definitely help Fluery defeat that spot. But then Fluery again, one of the best racers we have. A huge favorite in this race, so let's see. Okay. Is he gonna do it? No, he's not.
Setting to use a cabin, so probably actually gonna heal up and then attempt it anyway.
Dark Paladin and Chad also think he's just healing up for it. This is going to be fun to watch if he decides to go for it. He is.
Oh, actually, the fake out going for a Sarah spot first.
This is pretty easy, and it'll be some good experience.
So the trick with, well, a few tricks with Asura. As you can see, she likes to cure herself. So you can put up a wall on her, which will reflect those cures off back onto your own party to stop those cures from happening. The other thing is she only actually attacks as a counterattack whenever you do any direct damage. If Fluery wants, he can just reflect nukes and avoid actually taking any counterattacks. Looks like that reflex chart is what he's going for. Only doing just under 5,000 with Fusoya. There's about 20,000 HP here, so gonna need a little bit of extra damage from Palom, or gonna have to restore some of Fu's MP. He only comes with 3 nukes worth of MP.
I do believe I saw Flurry pick up some ethers earlier, so that option is available. And you can always suck some magic out of Tella and Cecil too.
Meanwhile, bgrich more or less following the same path as Flurry, cleaning up that dwarf castle after picking up that Fusoya. Shouldn't have too much trouble with this, with Fusoya and Crystal Sword Cecil in the party. I think Flurry is out of MP on Fu, so trying to finish off just with a virus and an attack, and looks like Palom does it.
And a rat tail. So we'll probably go check up on that. We are, of course, still looking for the tower key. And we are looking for Porum. But we still do need to look for key items, because we do need that tower key.
Yeah, even though that Kegnazo will give essentially a key item and is required as an objective, Flurry doesn't want to mess with that right now. It's a very rude boss, probably just gonna wait till he's grinded up a bit and has more HP on his characters, enough to tank some waves potentially, and come back later. Package from the rat tail that could end up being the play if Porum is waiting behind that package.
Yep. And also getting the slightly disappointing Bahamut summon.
So bgrich Castle gonna pick up his Darkness Crystal. We'll see if he also tries to take on some summon fights, or if he may be a little bit earlier.
And now, is it Porum? It is not.
So just another Tella, no reason to take that. I'm not even interested in whatever boss that might be there. No boss hunts today. So Flurry coming back to check out Sealed Cave with that Luca key. This is a nice check because you can look at the key item before actually fighting the boss, so it's fairly quick just to peek at that. So Flurry probably trying to cover his base before he heads to the moon.
Yep, Fluery is sticking surprisingly close to Earth thus far.
I'm guessing as soon as that tower key shows up, if it does, then Fluery would run immediately to the moon to check out that moon character.
And bgrich, verifying the seed. Today the job dwarf's job is a career counselor.
bgrich clearing out his inventory a bit. I'm not sure what exactly he wants to buy. Maybe hoping to find some tier 3s. It looks like he will also head to that sealed cave, so just slightly behind Fluery in that particular dungeon.
Yep, our runner's taking surprisingly similar routes.
Just a golden apple in the sealed cave, so we see an instant reset. Left to save outside of the sealed caves so that he wouldn't have to walk out if he didn't like the item.
Yep, and we're not looking for any particular bosses because we already found the Mist Dragon, so not even a need to check the bosses.
So Fluery now heading to the Tower of Babel, even without that tower key, wanting to make sure he's not leaving anything hanging on Earth before heading to the moon. Knowing that it is the dolls at the top, it's not too much of a fight, really. Just 1 or 2 quakes will take care of those easily.
Yep, of course, hoping for the vanilla tower key so that we can get objective number 3 done.
Like Fluery stepped towards the save room for a second. Might have thought about playing it safe, but then might have remembered that it was the dolls and decided he didn't need to. Moonblaze Wolf noting in the chat, you definitely could rush the moon with this party. Does make some sense for Fluery to kind of defensively check the overworld, especially from our perspective. We can see that he's basically staying ahead of bgrich in checks, so making sure he's not falling behind in any regard. And so it may be some sort of meta play on his part if he's able to anticipate bgrich's routing.
Not even 2 quakes needed.
Adamant as the reward. Going to reset out so you don't have to walk out of the tower. Not too interested in forging. Crystal Sword, significantly better than Excalibur.
So Fluery raising the lunar whale. This opens up 2 character checks, one in the Giant of Babil and one in the throne room of the Lunar Palace. And we are still looking for Porum.
So bgrich warping out of the sealed cave. Maybe didn't remember to leave a save outside, so had to walk back out rather than just reset out.
I know I've done that before.
bgrich also gonna head up to the moon, so nearly neck and neck, maybe a minute behind in terms of that cutscene.
And is it Porum?
It is a vanilla Fusoya. And of course, we already have one in the party, so it does not actually do anything to find him here.
Yep, the nice thing is this moon is looking not too bad. We've already seen a lot of our really scary enemies. We've seen Valvalis, we know where the blue turtle is. Wyvern's still on the table. But we also haven't seen very many of our free bosses. We haven't seen Dark Imps or Water Hag or the City Guards.
Yeah, Baigen up here or an Odin at a high HP spot could be a little bit dangerous. So with that party, it's not too much that's really a threat at this point.
Yep, the one thing that could be very time-consuming is since in this bracket round we have the alt gauntlet flags on, finding an alt gauntlet on the moon is very time-consuming.
But it would give a lot of experience. You get the same amount of experience you would get normally from those random encounters. So it takes a while, but sets you up pretty well if you clear it and get all those levels.
Oh, and the Hummingways having Cure 3s, those are always useful.
So what we're gonna do is actually opting for the plague spot first. A little bit easier for a boss, but only one key item check as opposed to the two next door. Sees a wyvern, immediate reset. Pretty mean boss there. Can probably deal with it with the right setup. May want to adjust battle speed. But Water Hag next door, a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and taking the experience from this fight is going to make the wyvern fight a lot easier. Yes, as Rivers McCown says in chat, Siri, show me the opposite of wyvern.
And everyone checks their phone as Siri activates. Water Hag actually being nice to Fluery, even attacking Tele for him, so Fluery doesn't have to worry about manipulating the agility by keeping the experience low.
So bgrich, meanwhile, is heading to the giant. This could be the play that he needs to get ahead.
So there could be a Porum here. We do need the tower key as well, which Fluery did just find from that Water Hag.
So all Fluery needing to go into go mode is a Porum.
And minor order of business does have to take out that item spot, which is still a little scary. If Fluery wants to grind up before that, shouldn't be too much trouble.
So the only character check currently available to us is up here on the giant. However, we still have the two behind the Earth Crystal. We have one behind the Baron Key.
So bgrich finds the officer and soldier fight at the element spot. This is essentially a free fight. These officer soldiers do not have the boss bit. They are susceptible to instant death, to weak, to status effects, to stone. And we could see a bit of a grind here, a lot of experience on this spot, and you can life glitch or cast life 2 to revive the officer and get even more experience.
Yep, so this could be what bgrich needs to get ahead, especially if Porum's here, but we do know he also has to go to the moon now, so that's not necessarily true.
Meanwhile, Fluery found Golbez at the Ogopogo spot at the bottom of the moon. So another rude boss opts to take Wyvern as potentially the lesser of two evils.
You know things are bad when Wyvern's your better option.
Actually, that Avenger picked up at the double chest in the ribbon location. It comes in handy here. It makes it a little bit easier to berserk Cecil when you have the wall up on him.
Yep, and due to the intricacies of Final Fantasy IV's programming, the stats from the Crystal Sword are carried over to the Avenger when you equip it in battle specifically.
Wyvern down for Fluery. We'll see if he gets a payout. Twin Harp, not really what he wants to see at this point. Looking for character checks.
But it is what the audience wants to see.
We may see another attempt at that Golbez. I think Fluery intentionally leaving two characters dead to make it a little bit easier, not having to worry as much if Golbez decides to eat.
And bgrich showing that the Baron military is extremely poorly trained because as soon as their officer is gone, the soldiers have no idea who is friend and who is foe.
bgrich is opting for a little bit of a slower fight on these officer soldiers, trying to life glitch every single one, as opposed to taking them all with something like a stone. But going to get a little more experience as a result.
Another smart thing from Fluery, oh, nope, never mind. We reset again. I was gonna say having the two characters dead already, but never mind. Nope, going right back.
One thing to note is that Fluery does now have 10 key items with that he pick up, so if he decides to go to Giant as well, he will get even more experience from that officer soldier fight. Mylon and friends at the CPU spot, not the most dangerous fight, but maybe not quite adequately prepared, or maybe bgrich wants to do some grinding before that. bgrich turning on encounters, probably looking for that D-machine grind. I think this might actually cost him. Don't really think it's necessary to do this amount of grinding with this party. Meanwhile, Fluery did get those Star Veils up on his party before the Shadow Dragon came out against Golbez, so he will be safe against any spells once they come out.
Yep, and this is a pretty high magic power spot, so Golbez should be hurting himself pretty good.
Also notably, Golbez is weak to that holy element, so Crystal Sword doing a whole lot of damage here.
Yeah, this is not going to be difficult.
And Magma Key reward. Be interesting. Hurts a bit to see that as the reward for struggling through that Golbez. Not the fastest fight just because of his talking.
Nope, his only real reward is the 3 levels on Cecil and the 3 levels on Yang.
Fluery may keep going on this moon until he finds either Earth Crystal or Baron for more character checks. He probably also wants a little more experience. I think Cecil's not quite at the level where he'd be ready to fight Zeromus or maybe even the Kignazo.
Yep, and just watching Fluery before, he tends to, once he goes to the moon, he stays there until it's done. It's just his routing style.
Oof, and bgrich actually got the Horseman fight rather than the D-Machine fight. Can be hard to distinguish between the two.
Yeah, I thought it was the wrong one, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Not nearly as much experience for these, but might decide that just a little bit is enough. And as you mentioned before, Dark Imps on the moon, another pretty easy fight. Could do some life glitching here to get a whole lot of experience. Again, with that doubling of experience from those key items as well.
But looks like he's just gonna go for the quick stone cast here. And it is successful.
Yeah, so it should be okay actually for Zeromus at this point.
Yep, Tella's not too high of a level, so won't have much agility, has a curse ring, has good levels. But not a key item, just a sword.
Alright, Fluery, now that he had to exit the moon anyway, figuring he'll hit. I think this makes a lot of sense. You have that tower key you know you have to do, so might as well do that. It might lead to a poem as well, and also may decide to go back for that Kignazo now that he has a few more levels. bgrich still looking for that D-Machine grind fight. This could be it. I'm not quite sure until we actually see the Searcher spawning an enemy, which one it is.
And while we're walking up the tower and or grinding, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Smapedy, who's doing the restreaming tonight. And also Gambit, who is doing the tracking and making all the buttons light up. Thank you so much.
And bgrich did find that D-Machine fight, so gonna cast Weak on those so he can take it out in one more physical attack. And can keep doing that with respawning them with a Searcher, mixing in the life glitch for extra experience. He's gonna get a whole lot of levels real quick with this. Fluery finding a Mom Bomb in the Super Cannon room. One of the most annoying fights you can find here just because the Mom Bomb gets an extra 9,000 HP in that initial form. on top of the small amount of HP that that spot intrinsically has. Lethal, just a few hits takes it out anyway.
Yep, and with more levels, I wouldn't be surprised if Flurry goes and has a rematch with the blue turtle after this.
He may actually have enough HP on Cecil at this point that he can just berserk up and ignore the waves, let Cecil tank them.
Exactly. So let's see what our airship assistants have for us today.
Baron key, so Flurry's probably pretty happy to see that, being that there is a character check there, but gonna go ahead and head over to the sealed cave to take out that required Cagnazzo first.
Yep, not too surprising.
bgrich hitting that searcher with, I think, a Thunderclaw and Yang doing almost all of its HP. 4,600, I think, with that hit. Might want to be a little bit careful, make sure you don't kill that before you're done doing your grind.
Yep, the searcher is a machine type and thus weak to electricity. It's not just a floating eyeball, it's a mechanical floating eyeball.
Alright, bgrich seems to be done with that grind, taking out the searcher.
One possible complication, leaving that Tella alive to get a lot of agility, but does still have a curse string. Oof, barely surviving.
Flurry in that Cagnazzo fight, able to get off several attacks and a nuke before Cagnazzo readies that wave, so probably will be okay as long as you whittle down that HP, the waves will be a bit weaker.
Yep, the waves being based on Cagnazzo's HP and not the HP of your party, unlike some of the other attacks named wave.
Yeah, that wave really only serving to take out the Tella, which Flurry wanted anyway.
And once he's inside his shell, he's pretty helpless, so this is a highly likely victory for Flurry.
Just a Lunar Staff as a reward, but that is an objective complete for Flurry. And so now probably going to head over to the Baron Castle to see if he can pick up a Porum there.
Or at least a key item that leads to Porum.
Meanwhile, bgrich does take down that Mylon fight and does learn Nuke on Palom, so quite a few levels, hitting level 52 for Palom, and we'll see what character shows up. And it is a Porum, so that is objective number 4, and that puts bgrich potentially in a strong spot, just needing to go pick up that tower key.
Now, I still do believe there can be multiple Porums, so it's entirely possible she is in the giant and in Baron.
Yeah, although Flurry has done several additional checks on the moon and has finished off his other objectives, depending on where that Porm shows up, you could see a pretty close race coming down to the end here. So bgrich, now that he has his levels, going to go ahead and take out that Kegnazo. Going to complete his objective. He probably ideally wants a tower key to show up. We'll only get the lunar staff, but we'll know to head to the moon after that most likely.
And hello, CPU, from back in the start of the stream. Of course, with that crystal sword, nothing here should be a problem for Flurry.
Yeah, slightly annoying with the CPU, the multi-target. I mean, you have to go and cast Quake. You have to use a character other than Cecil. Imagine that. Another moon boss in the Baron Throne. I think this is D-Lunar.
Yep, I believe that's the only one we have left.
Normally a little risky to attack these physically because they do start countering with viruses. But when you have a crystal sword, you don't really mind. You take them out in one hit and it's fine.
Yep, they are undead and thus weak to holy, which is the crystal sword's element.
And just another Tella and Baron. So we'll see if Flurry decides to head up that giant or keep looking for the Earth Crystal.
bgrich trying to use those J items to scare the wave attack out of Kanazo. But unfortunately, he does do it if he has it queued up. Even if it feels like you struck him with lit in the time, if he has the attack queued up already, he will finish it out.
So bgrich not having that Avenger from the moon yet, so does have to manually cast Berserk to get Cecil going. So this fight may actually end up taking a little bit longer for him than it did for Flurry, even though bgrich has a few more levels.
And I missed what was in the Baron pot.
It was a Legend Sword, and although Flurry found the adamant earlier, he reset out of it, so does not have the option to forge. Not that there's a whole lot of reason to at this point.
No, not when you have a crystal sword, but he is going to go check the Odin spot now.
So Flurry hoping to find that Earth Crystal. This could still work out for him if there's another Porm in the Tower of Zot.
And bgrich getting through the blue turtle. And will complete objective number 2.
Octomom in the basement won't be too much trouble. Slight annoyance in that Octomom does resist Holy, so Crystal Sword doesn't do quite as much damage as normal.
But we still have a Fu and a Palom to cast Nuke. And the nice thing about Octomam is the more you hurt it, the slower it gets.
Still has a number of checks that he has not done yet. Does not have the tower key yet, so actually gonna go for the Asura first. So in effect, this is buying Fluery a little more time to end up at that giant or to find the Earth Crystal. Just a Heroine Robe Odin spot, so no interest in that. Doesn't even have any characters right now who can use it, so resetting out immediately. Fluery even gonna take the Twin Harp. This is gonna be a pretty big time sink.
Yep, this is definitely bgrich4's chance to catch back up. But the good thing is we're going to hear music. If anyone, since we're on Randomania, if anyone's new to Free Enterprise, tell them about the music.
So the Twin Harp song is always randomized in Free Enterprise. We get all sorts of songs and tunes from different video games you may have heard of or may learn about from the songs. So once we get into that boss fight, we'll get a special treat, and we'll go ahead and quiet down to give you a chance to listen to that once that pops up.
Yep, the Starkill spot, of course, having huge magic defense, but that Crystal Sword Cecil is just gonna rip through it real quick.
bgrich picking up his rat tail from Asura. If I remember correctly, that is just a package. So just a quick little chain that bgrich will check. He has no need to check the package, already having that for him though.
And so now I think we'll be quiet for a minute and let you listen to the awesome music. And that fight was so fast, we didn't get to hear too much music, but that was the town music from Secret of Mana.
And Dragon Spear has the reward. So no Earth Crystal yet. We'll see if Fluery really commits to chasing that, checking those remaining moon spots, or he may decide to head to the giant in case Porm is there. Meanwhile, bgrich is actually doing a keyless tower play, which we know will not pay out just giving an adamant. So he may be feeling a bit behind and trying to do some slightly less popular checks at this point.
Yeah. As the underdog, sometimes you gotta take those gambles, but unfortunately we know that's not gonna pay off.
So we're going back to the moon, so I think just the Paladin spot and the Bahamut spot remain, and I believe Earth Crystal has to be at one of them, which still could be a Porum.
Very obviously trying to save the giant for last. And BG Rich, just like Flurry before him, resetting out of that adamant.
I believe BG Rich is essentially at this point, although he may end up doing a top down, which is kind of right now the less popular ordering of bosses. If you feel a little bit behind, then it can make more sense to switch things up and go in a different order than usual. And we see BG Rich heading to Bahamut Cave directly.
And speaking of Bahamut, I wouldn't be surprised if this dragon is taken down before the Mega Nuke even goes off.
Yeah, it looks like the count's coming out pretty slow, so just gonna let his character's Berserk and take this out. Doesn't even need to put up the Star Veils. There is the Earthquake. He saves himself from that Bahamut check, but we'll almost definitely chase that now. And if Aporum's not there, then he'll still have to do the Giant.
Yeah, I don't think we'll do the Bahamut check because there are no key items now that would be useful for him.
But speaking of that check, BG Rich is doing that, not having found his tower key yet. And Dr. Luge there is actually somewhat annoying. A lot of HP to get through, even split between the 4 phases, although I guess one nuke is enough for that battle map.
So the real question is there going to be a duplicate Porum in Zot?
We see Flurry make a quick check on his objectives. Just double checking, make sure he's not chasing the completely wrong thing at this point.
This has been a relatively straightforward seed, though. The big curveball is maybe the only Porum was in the Giant, but other than that, it's been pretty kind.
Yeah, it's kind of the meta plays here with Flurry avoiding the Giant and BG Rich kind of doing a non-traditional route getting up to that moon. So that's kind of thrown things off and wind up keeping things pretty even. BG Rich probably going to do the Paladin spot at least before heading down to the D-Lunar spot, which we know holds the tower key.
And of course, the boss in this spot not even mattering because we have nukes, we have crystal swords, we even have a Yang.
Rosa is actually in this seed, believe it or not. He was hiding out in the Tower of Zot. There's still one more character in the next room. And it's another Tella. So Flurry gonna have to go to the Giant. He knows it. He's resetting out to save a little bit of time.
Which is really smart.
And I think that save was actually before he even did the Paladin spot. which actually is good for Fluery, removing that experience on Tella to make him an even better agility anchor.
Yep, those little optimizations are what makes Fluery such a top-tier runner.
So now Fluery has to get through the bosses, the first of which is the fight, which should be a pretty quick zone, and then the Mylon and Friends fight at CPU shouldn't be too hard either. Meanwhile, bgrich will have to walk down the moon, take out the D-Lunar spot, which I think was a water hag or something pretty easy, and then pick up his tower key, head back to Earth, and take care of that check. So this could come down to a pretty close final finish with the two of them taking out those fights.
Yep, and what I'm looking forward to is because Fluery has the pass, he's going to be going straight from Giant to Troya, and we might get to see him land the lunar whale in the tiny forest clearing. I don't know, it just makes me happy. It's a giant airship in a tiny little clearing.
Fluery just making sure to stay to be safe, putting his crystal sword back on Cecil to get optimal damage. And no need to grind at this point. The extra experience from these bosses will just be icing on the cake for him.
Yeah, I'm not anticipating him to have any trouble with this Zeromus fight.
Yep, just pairing with Cecil, not even wasting time with attack animations, going for that stone quick kill. Fortunately, the first stone misses. He's got two more characters left can do it, so queuing that up as well was Palom and Tella.
And it hits.
Alright, so Fluery is on to the CPU fight. Meanwhile, bgrich is closing in on that water hag fight for his tower key. Fluery taking the time to save. I think he could get away with just walking directly to the CPU fight, knowing that there isn't much that could be threatening at this point with this party. bgrich does make the first correct guess, heading directly to that D-Lunar spot, which we know is the tower key that he needs. Fluery pulling out a firebomb from his back pocket to take out those zombies in the Mylon fight. Just makes that go a little bit faster. bgrich exiting out of the moon does still have to go up the tower, take care of that mom bomb fight, and complete that objective. So I think Fluery fight just a bit ahead of bgrich.
And with that, Fluery will have completed all 5 of his objectives, will receive the crystal, and will most likely directly go to Zeromus using the pass.
And we'll see if Fluery does your favorite, flying the whale directly to Troya, or decide to swap out airships first. Actually thinks for a moment about taking Porum just as a lower agility anchor, but Probably already having that curse ring on Tella figures don't bother with the menuing, just keep things the way they are.
Yep. And does it. Big airship, tiny clearing.
Okay, Fluery remembering. Once again, he's done very well with that, remembering to swap back from the Crystal Sword to the Avenger every time in between fights, just to get even more damage. Swapping from the Crystal to the Avenger in the fight will Berserk Cecil while maintaining the damage of the Crystal Sword.
So, if you are new to this randomizer, we like to give Zeromus a little facelift. So we have over 400 sprites that he can be randomized to. It does not change his script. It does not change his stats. It's purely aesthetic. But I see the Z flags in chat, and I will let you do the honors, Penguinator.
And the question I want to know is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? So we did see extra levels on that Palom for Fluery clearing out that giant, so he does now have nuke as well. So we'll see if Fluery opts for purely berserk damage, or if he mixes in some spells as well with, or some hybrid strats with those nukes. Fluery remembering to put his Yang in the front row this time. I know he's had some struggles remembering that particular detail in the past.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that.
And meanwhile, bgrich finishes off the tower keys, so picking up his crystal, entering go mode as well. So he will be headed into this fight imminently.
Oh my, it's Gladimus.
The forum is a lie. So it's looking like just Berserk strats for, with the Cecil doing 6,000 or more damage per hit. Definitely a viable strategy just to rely on that, and it's much faster animations than casting nukes.
bgrich is not going to be too far behind, but with this party power, it's definitely still Fluery's game right now. This is going to be a pretty close one, though.
bgrich may have a few extra levels from that D-Machine grind, although Fluery did do a few more Moon Boss spots. Looks like they're about the same level, all things said and done. So Fluery getting a couple minute head start on this fight. It's definitely his game to lose at this point, just needs to make sure to have a clean fight here. Big bang on Fluery's side. He has enough HP that should be fine. Won't be seeing another one because that is the final hit. And Fluery takes the win here, advancing on to the round of 16.
GG Fluery.
So final time for Fluery of 144.41 with a very near full clear of the seed. I think only skipping that Bahamut Cave spot. Very impressive. think we are joined by Fluery in chat. Congrats on your win.
Thank you. Whew.
Thank you for not busting everyone's brackets.
Well, our quad has done plenty of that already, so it kind of would have been on point if I would have fallen down too.
So how do you feel about Poramon the Giant?
I mean, it can happen, you know, like that's actually one of the things I kind of like about the character meta is that you have the option of, do you make the giant check right now that could be time expensive, but it's only like, I think in my case, it was a 20% chance, or do you know, go with the math and follow key items? And I, you know, happened to guess wrong. What ended up kind of saving me was that I was really, really happy with how I flew through that seed. You know, giant guess incorrect otherwise. Had a lot of optimizations in there that I was actually kind of proud of.
Yeah.
So how happy were you to...
Was front row Yang in the final fight. Good job on that.
Yeah, I remembered this time. Not that Yang actually really did anything other than standing there and look cool. Helped in the Zermus fight, I guess, but other than that, I mean, that was... Smapey loves to roll Cecil Seeds with Holy Swords, and I am thankful.
So required Kignazo at Leviathan. Thoughts?
You know, I considered doing it before going to the moon, because I felt like I might be able to sneak off enough HP to make the wave, you know, a little more tenable. But I thought, and if that has the tower key, you know, then uh-oh. But I kind of took the chance that there's going to be something on the moon that's going to be required, so I figured I'd route it down to when I came back. Since I have the pass, you know, I wasn't really going to need to worry about having to go back and forth too much. So that would have been rude with a different party. With the party we had, I was like, as soon as I get to like level 35 or 40, this boss is free.
Yep, and less than 4 minutes behind, bgrich also defeats Zeromus. So GG to BG.
Yeah, that must have been pretty close to watch. From what I understand, he did the D-Machine grind, like we mentioned in IRC, so I actually found Porum a whole lot earlier than I did.
You bet.
Oh boy.
The lower initially. So that ended up giving you time to go ahead and find that Earth Crystal and follow it before he managed to find the tower key.
Yeah, the harp ended up like being the one I was really worried about after clearing Baron and thinking, well, if it's going to be Earth, I have a 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 guess. Odin, do I check harp or do I go back to the moon? I actually kind of figured. I've had so many races where that is just the T-lose harp for me. I was like, all right, let's do it. And when it didn't have it, I was definitely concerned.
And it looks like we're joined by bgrich now. So close. You put up a heck of a fight today.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a pretty good roll there by Smapey. That we had a pretty playable seed.
So what did you think of You actually went to Giant a lot faster than Fluery did.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I gotta go for the D-Machine grind. And I always almost always check the bosses up there just to see what's going on, because it's like if it's a quick level up or something. And then I saw that it was a free fight. I was like, well, maybe I'll just take this level up first. I took a little bit too long on that, and then I took a little bit too long on the D-Machine grind too. I did it a little bit differently. I think I forget who I was watching that did it the other day, maybe Error or somebody, and I tried to copy how they did it and I did it wrong. So it took an extra 2 or 3 minutes to get the fight to come up, but it ended up working out pretty well. That it cut out a lot of the routing and helped me catch up to Fluery.
So same question for you, bgrich. Required Kignazo at Leviathan spot. How do you feel?
I knew I didn't want to do that one right away because I knew it may have been possible, but I was like, as soon as I had Darkness Crystal, I was like, there's no way I'm playing that until after I level up. So it ended up being really easy, but only because the seed played out a way where it became a manageable fight.
I think that's about it. It was actually, other than Porub and our blue turtle friend, it was a pretty straightforward seed. Anything to add for either of you?
Well, I guess shout out to you guys for doing the commentary, and thank you Smaped for drawing a very kind seed as opposed to Dathis last time I raced was not a kind seed. And yeah, just like the community in general, there were a lot of like small optimizations to go through, like cursed ring RA3 to make sure the dolls don't get a turn, stuff like that becomes possible when you watch other people's stream and figure that out and snipe that tech. So stuff like that wouldn't have happened without like all the racers sharing the knowledge that they do on the Discord, and it definitely paid off in this race.
Yeah, and I appreciate too, everyone turning out for sure, and everybody running the stuff here, and also to Fluery for giving me some time to practice these flags, because I didn't really get to practice until I think it was last Sunday, and so this was easily my best run on this flag set. So all of my practice seeds, like they were more exploratory and stuff, but I did have at least one 4-hour seed where I had like a terrible party, and I think it was a hook seed, and so it was interesting seeing like at least getting that practice in. That I appreciated being able to do that, so that it made this race a lot closer than if I had just tried to go in blind.
Yeah, it's always a bummer when the game does not want you to play.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be fun. It's a game.
Well, I think that will wrap things up for us. So thanks you two, and thanks for a great show. And thanks to our restreamer Smaped and our tracker Gambit. And of course, thanks to my co-commentator Kinda Nerdy Housewife for a great show.
And with that, I think our restreamer here is going to boot you over to the other round of 32 race that is going on right now between Invenerable and PK, which is currently in progress. So enjoy that, and we'll see y'all next time.